right, August 1st, Jerry
What is up?
Garcia's birthday, and everybody wants to attach stuff to Jerry's birthday. What
I
do you
don't see
think?
it. I know. If they really wanted to celebrate it, they would have. They would have. But I think it was. Yeah. No.
Well, the one time they acknowledged it, it was on the day he died. So let's
Yeah.
talk in 9 days, but they aren't playing, so
Right. Exactly. So
that's an issue. All
it's
right,
it's
so
good to be here with you, Kev. Like feels like the old days this summer of doing our Dead and Co shows. So this
uh,
is our jaded vets after show.
all right, so where's that set list, Mr. Producer Man?
Let's see. Bring it on up. Let's
There we
get
go. All
into it.
right. So I'm going to go off the top here with Trey flipped the script from the first three shows. It was small first song, huge two slot. Um, this for both sets for the first three shows of this. And tonight we got the huge one right out the gate, the improvised huge one. I mean, Reba's big, but Reba's big because it's big, you know? So the
Yeah.
ghost, I thought it was a fantastic thing. Maybe it was a nod to Garcia, you know.
As Ghost.
Yeah, I think though that it set the tone for the whole show, and I bet that you're gonna run with that as we talk about this.
A little bit. I'm gonna throw SE up there and say, right on. Happy 81st Jer. Thank you, sir. That's awesome. We appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, this whole entire show, I'm sure. I don't know. We don't need to fluff every show. I'm not big on that. It's okay to admit when things, aren't as awesome as they could be. And I think tonight, especially in the second set, we'll get into that. I don't know. Maybe it's all the Taper's Choice I've been listening to, getting ready for our big interview Thursday and Choice Fest 2 this weekend and everything, that I just needed more rock and roll tonight, or a little bit more than happy jams, and they all sounded the same. But I thought this Ghost jam to kick it off before you heard all the other jams tonight was awesome. Like, very blissful, evolved into a really nice, blissful jam there, had some elevation to it, had a nice peak in it. It had some Allman Brothers sound in there, which was awesome. I think it was a little mountain jam going on in there, which was very cool to hear. I really liked that. But and it even had a nice reentry, which I know some even commented already in the chat about you, Kev, calling for their reentries, and that this had a really nice reentry into it. But I don't know. It set the table for what was to come tonight, and I would say not the most favorable way, just because it felt like the other jam sounded a lot like this one tonight. But I love this opening salvo and the way this sounded to kick off the show.
Yeah, and it's a lot longer than Ghost we've been getting. Ghost have been
Yes.
clocking in around 10 to 12 minutes, so had a lot extra there. I really felt like they were feeling it. I wish that they had gone somewhere else besides Reba in the 2 spot, but Reba's great, you know.
And it's a good, I don't know, it's a fun 1-2 punch, that Ghost Reba, and I joked in our chat that maybe the next 2 songs will be Tweezer and Yem, and we'll get a full run of all the bracket champions to open the show. But they changed it up. But I liked it. I thought it was a fun 30 minutes to open, and you got 2 nice blissful jams in there, because Reba always has its own bliss in the middle section there that always gets to where it goes. You got your whistling, which I know you always are asking, did they whistle or not? So they hit the whistle tonight. They did whistle tonight, which was cool. I like the opening 30 minutes. This first set, again, like the other night, I really dug. Like, I really enjoyed this first set. I thought we'll get to it in a minute, but this Wolfman's was my highlight of the show, I think. There was just a lot of good. It sounded good. It was fun. It was upbeat. It was cool. And we can get into Funky Bitch next.
Timothy, whoever Fish from the Road writes out Story of the Ghost, because we just copy and paste what they put. So that is, if you ever see anything weird written in any of these song titles, you just go over and call them out on Twitter.
Funky
Bitch.
Paste.
Yay, Funky Bitch. It's a fun song.
Hey, it's one of those we talk about Mike songs a lot, and it's one of those that's a fun Mike song. It's an upbeat, not a Mike set killer. So and again, it was cool. in where it was placed in this set, I thought it worked. The first three, again, without the slowdown, kind of like what we've been getting. And kind of with the first sets, there hasn't been a lot of slowdowns in the first sets the last few nights, which has been kind of cool. So, but again, 6 minutes in and out, does its thing. We're, moving on.
All right, Timber, second Timber of the tour. Some tours you don't even get a Timber at all, so I find that interesting. And it disappeared on us. I if I'm going to hold the two up together just off this listen earlier to tonight's Timber, I like the one in North Carolina better because it ended up going into song. I heard, the jam just flowed. This was, we're going to do Timber, boom, here it is. They have some meat on the bone there. I'm never going to argue with that tune. You want to play it tomorrow night again, Trey? I'm 100% behind you.
I agree. And this one, it had a little bit of Allman sound in it again. Like it kind of had that in some of the ripping segment there. It kind of sounded a little Allman Brothers to me, which I'm always a fan of hearing. This song, like you just said, I'll take it anytime. It's always crazy to me where it starts and how it sounds in the lyrics and then where it gets to in the middle of it when they take that jam to places. It's always such a cool, from beginning to middle, what happens in it and where it goes. And then I thought this one also had another pretty solid re-entry into it, where it came back in. So I thought that was, with Ghost and Timber Tonight, I thought those were two.
Trey gave the space he needed. And Wolfman's too. He gave them the 12 extra bars or whatever to catch up to where his head was with it. Thank you, Dave. Timber, have you ever listened to Odetta? Have you ever heard her version of it? I don't want to say she wrote it, but I think she did. But it may just be an old traditional tune. It's so strange to me what PHiSH does with it, listening to her version of it. It's an acoustic blues song with a woman singing.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like the way it always begins, like the way they start it is so slow and like storytelling ash, like we talk about. It's almost like a Dead song, right? Like it's got that storyteller song aspect to it, but then the middle section just can go anywhere and gets in these crazy cool jams.
In 97 at the infamous Dayton show, they did a Timber that night that was really blissful. The next night in Penn State, out of Simple, they started playing Bowie and ended up playing Timber again, and the jam was completely dark. It was like two completely different versions of it back-to-back nights. And
which is interesting you say that, because sometimes it does get a little dark, or it can have a little bit more of that, and this was just right in line with the theme of tonight. Like these jams were just kind of this overall
called back to the Ghost.
Exactly, call back to the Ghost jam. Like, and this one even had kind of the Allman Brothers sound in it, like I said, like Ghost did. So this one was even closer to that, and it kind of was the theme of the night. So
I wonder if Trey threw on Fillmore East or something before every show, because there have been a lot of Mystic Oracle. There have been a lot of Mountain Jam teases across the whole tour. So
yeah, and tonight was, I think, definitely was Mountain Jam teasing Ghost. Like it was definitely there. So
all right, Josh White and Sam Gary. All right, cool. Well, there's my answer.
Thanks,
Broken
Chad.
to Pieces is an older Trey Band song, I guess, that came back out for the mission shows for the Trey Trio.
Right. I knew that. Yeah, I knew they played it there. I didn't know it was an older one though. I thought it was just one of the ones that came out in there. Kind of a slow start. Lyrics are kind of whatever, but again, the jam was this jam to me felt very cohesive, right? Like it felt like they were all kind of in it together on this one. So I liked where the jam got to. 5 minutes, it's hard to get too involved in it, but for those 5 minutes, I thought they were really tight playing together. If this was the first time they played it as PHiSH, I thought it sounded like they'd played or rehearsed this at least. I think Bizarre had mentioned they'd sound checked it before. So, but it was the first time they played it, and I thought it sounded really good for the first time. It didn't get stretched out like some of his other ones have, right? Like
that's what I was going to say. I find that interesting. What songs like Life Saving Gun went for 12, 13 minutes or whatever. Monster was only 6 minutes. Broken into Pieces is only 5 minutes. Pillow Jets was 14 minutes. How did these decisions? I wonder what goes on in Trey's head sometimes.
where he thinks about that. I'm gonna bring this one up for just a second while because I wanted to comment. I had mentioned to the guys actually in our chat that tonight was a perfect night for them to play Tequila, or at least he should have teased Tequila in something just as a nod to Pee Wee. Would have been great. A little.
Should Trey have tried to duck walk though?
Yeah, during his yem dance, right? He could have done his little.
Yeah, you gotta definitely. Oh man! All right, so the Wolfman's another big hunk of meat there. Wolfman's again has been a 11-12 minute number tonight. Boom! They gave it the extra 5 minutes, and you go ahead and say it.
Well, I was just, it's always got that jam vehicle to it these days. Like it always, once you get into that after through the lyric part, it just you never know where it's going to go. And there's been some fantastic versions of it. So I liked Fishman yelling out from the bottom of the well. I thought it was a little weird in this one because again tonight with the Blissful Jams, it didn't quite fit. And we've been talking about what evil songs would they go into with the well. So it was kind of weird to hear that, and I thought maybe this was going to devolve into a little bit darker of a Wolfman's and then fall into that, but it definitely did not happen. So that was an interesting little call out there in the middle of that jam. But it did its thing. It had a driving, forceful jam in it, and then you hit the second level jam, which has kind of kept taking it up to that next peak, that next sort of like climbing up that mountain, and then I thought, we always talk about how they kind of take turns. I thought this was the song tonight where they all kind of had their turn at things. I thought Paige laid down some fantastic piano in it, followed on top of with Trey on top of him, and then Trey kind of took it over from there. And then we had a little bit of Fishman in there, Mike laying down the bass. I just thought it was a really cool, different levels of jams, and it was my highlight of the night. I thought it really stood out amongst all the other things we heard tonight.
I feel like the past 3 nights, everybody has led jams in different places, and Trey's been giving lots of leeway. I felt tonight like Trey reined everything back in, and he's like, "I'm going to be running the show for this," and which I is neither here nor there. I don't think that I'm saying something negative. It's just a different way that it's approached, and you get a different show with maybe a more thematic feeling to each of the jams through it.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. And I thought this one, it kind of, again, it had almost like 3 different stories to it, like 3 levels of this jam where it kept kind of would get sort of slow and break down and then get build up again and then sort of find a new place to go, slow down a little bit, build back up again. And then by the time we got to the third one, it was really building, I thought, and kind of getting somewhere. And then he reined it back in. And this was the one time where I thought the first reentry was a little rougher. Like this one was not as solid as the other 2. And they kind of stopped it, and then he went over and kind of, was giving the signal and talking into the mic and telling him what he wanted to go into. And I thought the Walrus was definitely a shocker, like didn't see that one coming.
Field, right? Now it has showed up, right? Walrus has been played 6 times. When was the last time, Mr. Producer?
Wasn't it Vegas? I think it was Halloween.
Yeah, it was. It was the animal night. It had to be the animal night
was
the last time. Good call.
Yeah.
Good call.
Yeah. But this one he had lots of weird sound bites being thrown in there during it. There was the birds I heard in there and a few other ones in there. But I thought it was a pretty tight one. I thought the one in Vegas was a little sloppy just for what it was and where it was. I mean, it rocked. I mean, that was so much fun. Like the crowd was going ape shit for that after that that animal set. But I thought tonight was a little bit tighter. I thought it was sounded a little bit better. My only question is, where in the hell is A Day in the Life? Like, where is that? Like,
I bet you what it would come down to is the same problem that we're never getting another Life on Mars is that Paige can't sing in that key anymore, or that register or whatever. And I don't think he can sing what he's supposed to for Day in the Life, and that's why it's off the table.
That's too bad, because come on, they suffer through other songs that they, like bring it back. Just the nostalgic value alone, I would be happy with. So, but decent first set. Again, the last 2 nights I've really liked the first sets. They've been really tight. They've sounded really good. The set list in general has been fun. Again, those first 2 songs tonight were fantastic. That Wolfman's took it to a place. So I know I texted you guys. I was like, well, another great first set. This can only mean one thing for the second set, and we'll get into that in a bit. But I know we have a little house cleaning to get to first.
All right, so let's take this to housekeeping. If you want to become a member, it is $2.99 a month. There's a little button down there. Wait, we haven't gotten there yet, Mr. Producer. You can do that. You can be in team chat, but nothing else. Make sure you subscribe because that doesn't cost you anything. You ring the bell. We got these after shows. We're gonna have the Syracuse coming up after MSG. Tim will be running with some special guests coming on. I hear we got some pretty cool names joining him since the rest of us will be out of town. And then this Thursday, we got something. You want to tell us about that, T?
Thursday night, we got our live interview with Taper's Choice. Lama and I will be doing that live, 6 Pacific, 9 Eastern. We'll have at least 2, maybe 3, maybe 4 members of the band joining us to talk all things Taper's Choice. We'll go over their new album that's getting released. We'll go over Choice Fest 2. They're about to go on a fall tour run on the East Coast, so we'll discuss that. They just did an interview with Aquarium Drunkard. Check that out. Just came out today, I think. Go read that. They actually embedded our Choice Fest video from last year in the article, which is kind of cool to see. But join us Thursday night. That'll be fun. We'll be taking questions from the chat too. So if you got questions you want to ask them, it'll be fun. Lama, what else you got?
I'd say it'd be a good night to tune in and be a member of the chat that night. I think it's safe to say that. Yeah.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. We're in giving moods these days. It's between the foodie kits and a few other things we got going on. So tune in. You might actually get something out of it. Let's just say. So
might be surprised.
Surprise.
Might be surprised there. And also one other thing on Wednesday nights, once tour's over, we got Wook Plus Live, and Wook Plus Live has morphed from us doing complete thematic shows of like, gangsters and things like that to having interviews every week to now it's basically a weekly wrap up of, what's going on in the jam band world. We may have some guests coming on. You never know how that's going to work, but so make sure to check that out. Let's jump into set number.
Duh.
I'm dying. All right. So we get a nod to Jam Night to open up.
17-minute sample. I mean, again, the first 2 songs of these second sets have been ragers, so to speak. Tonight, I thought sample kicked us off very well. There was a lot of comments about, it going type 2 and a jammed out sample. And as awesome as that is, and to get a 17-minute sample, I'm fine with a sample that's 9 minutes but rocks. You know what I mean? That actually like hits in a few places. So while it was nice to get that 17-minute jam and stuff, and had kind of, I think you mentioned, wedge teases in there and some great, again, Page with the piano beds and some, some decent jam material in there. It was, it was okay to me. Like I don't always need a 17-minute sample.
Right.
Yeah.
The thing with the samples when they do this, because they've done it twice now, maybe 3 times. There was a long one, maybe last summer tour or on spring tour, I think, that had some meat on it. Is it seems like it's just a generic jam grafted on the end of the song. They complete the song and then you get the other 12 minutes, 11 minutes of them doing that. But I found a lot of spaces in this. There were a lot of callbacks to the jams in the first set, but the way when they found their way into the Kill Devil Falls, I thought that was a really good little section there, the couple minutes before. And then Kill Devil Falls, it didn't quite live up to that one that closed the first set, but it was still, I guess Trey got bored with it, but we'll get into that a little bit.
Well,
Where are you on that?
And this kind of fits what you were just saying. Like they did the first section of it, and that was kind of the rocking part. And I was like, okay, now let's rock. Like let's fucking lay it down and go. And they kind of took off into another like ghost type jam, like another one of these like same jams as we've kind of heard all night. And it just never quite got there for me. It wasn't the rocker that I wanted to feel. And then it just kind of ended. Like they never came back into it. So it just sort of broke down at the end, and all of a sudden they stumbled into a golden age almost. Like didn't quite stick that transition at all, and felt a little stumbly going into it. And this was kind of the theme that happened for the next couple songs, because like the end of this, we'll talk about this, but the end of this golden age was really weird. Like Trey just kind of stopped, and Fishman was not ready for it at all. Like he all of a sudden had to do the like dun to end it after everybody else had kind of ended it, because it was like, oh, we're done, okay. So it's kind of a weird.
This is the 4th night in a row we got a huge first section to open the second set, and then I felt like they stumbled a little with one song instead of there being a jam to mirror what went on in there. To the golden age, yes, it sounded like Trey started playing the lyric. It sounded like they were, playing the theme, that they were going to go back into the song, and then he just stopped it. Fishman was like, "Oh, we're done."
Yeah, it was so weird. Like it was kind of uncomfortable. You were like, oh, okay. And it was kind of that way with the Kill Devil Falls before. It was a kind of just, it was jamming, and like, we got through that, like I said, the rocker part, and then we're like, okay, we're gonna go wander out into the forest a little bit and see what's out here, and then I thought they'd come back into that, like we talked about, come back into that re-entry with a ripper and do the next verse and kind of end it on a high note, but instead it just kind of petered out and then had a rough landing in a golden age, and then the same thing in golden age. It was just kind of, it stayed in its lane, so to speak. Like we didn't get anything fantastic with it. We didn't get anything that golden age usually provides, and it was a 13-minute, I don't know, usually these things hit 15, 17, and that's where you're getting those really cool build up, breakdown jams inside of it, and we did not get that. And then, as has been the theme sort of the last few nights, you get the slowdown song after the first three ragers, and tonight it was Shade, which I don't think
it's interesting to me that Golden Age, like Timber, is a song that you normally don't get but maybe once a tour, and has popped up multiple times, and as recent as The Man. They did it the second night of The Man, which is for the normal gap on that song is pretty quick turnaround.
I agree. And what we've kind of seen tonight with a couple of those repeats, and we'll get into it with the Encore too, the other versions we've heard have actually kind of been better, or like the last version we heard was actually kind of better than the one we heard tonight or the other night or wherever it may be. It's kind of been strange to see that we haven't seen that sort of progression that we're used to when you're getting into the 3 and 4 times that they've played it and really taking it out for a walk and doing some cool shit with it and stuff. So it's kind of interesting that they didn't quite get there like it.
I'm not going to poop anymore on the slow song if it's 4 minutes.
Yeah,
because they were in and out. It was cool, good for Trey. He got it out of his system, and then he went into something that everyone's looking for. He gave the people what they were paying their money for, was to see a Sneakin' Sally.
Yeah, and it was the 5th cover of the night too. So like, kind of another theme tonight was a lot of covers. Like we got a lot of covers tonight, and again though, a Sneakin' Sally sometimes gets a little bit rippy and gets a little bit fun and a little bit has a cool reentry and has all this stuff. Again, it just kind of had that mellow jam to it. It just kind of hit its got into the jam and just kind of hit its moment and just kind of like boated along. Like did
they used to do a vocal jam in Sneakin' Sally?
I hope not. Did they? They might have.
I think one time they did, like back in 98 or 99, maybe. I might be making that shit up. But yeah, it never got off the ground. As soon as it started to get somewhere, Trey pulled it into Twist.
And then again, like a weird sort of change into Twist for, it didn't really do anything. Like this one did not go anywhere either, and it was 7 minutes, which I don't know, it was to me like it felt even shorter than that. It felt like a 4 or 5 minute Twist. Like,
would have been nice if they had have chosen one or the other and leaned into it for a whole 14 minutes.
For a whole 14, I agree, because either one of them could have had a much better jam in the middle. On Twist, I don't even think you could really say had a jam. At least Sneakin kind of got into a jam. Twist jam, I just never really felt like I got anywhere with it. It just sort of like floated along, and then we were back into the woos and ending the song. And
what happened? Where'd it go?
Yeah, exactly. Like, wait, what? There's no real deep jam to that. And then it set up the Yem, which, awesome Yem to end the set. But I texted you guys right away. I was like, oh, great, you're getting a vocal jam to close out. Like,
see, I've always, my thing with Yem is, unless they do what they were doing last summer and earlier this year, where they stick the second jam out of the vocal, then it belongs somewhere else other than a closing a set, or this might even piss you off more as an encore and leave you walking out with a vocal jam.
I can't. That's happened to me before, and I'm just furious. Like, it's no secret that I hate the vocal jam. I'm sorry. Like, go ahead, rip on me, do whatever. Like, whatever. If you like the vocal jam, give me a break. And last year when we were doing those short vocal jams, going back into another jam was awesome. Like they were so cool, and like getting back into that second level jam was so much fun. And that's where it worked, especially as a closer, because then you kind of get that uplifting close to just kind of go out with them being like, and then it's done. You're like, yeah. So exactly. No one ever said don't miss a Tuesday show. Sometimes
you
those
know
Tuesday
what?
shows and
At
Wednesday
least
shows
they
are incredible.
at least when they do Tuesday shows, they don't play Tuesday
Or Ruby Tuesday.
or Ruby Tuesday. But that Trey song I like. I like Trey's pop songs. I think he could have like a boy band album with like Tuesday and
Right.
Friday and Sing Monica and the whole
Totally.
9 yards. All right,
But
so
I mean,
I
it was
the Yem was I felt like they found some extra little spaces in it. In the quiet part before we hit the build, they pulled that out a little bit longer. So I think Trey was feeling it. Maybe he was rushing to get to it. He knew that he was going to close the set with it.
possibly. And then they didn't want to jam anything too much before it, maybe, and did the two shorter 7-minute songs and then set up the 60-minute Yem at the end. So, but again, when and I thought when it transitioned and he started doing his dance and Mike had his moment, that was very funky. Like Mike definitely laid it down and hit his part awesome. Like it sounded great leading into the vocal jam, which again, we don't need to talk about that anymore. But interesting way to end the set. And then I mean, I texted you guys and I was like, at this point, I would take a character 0 as an encore just to rock, just to give me something that like feels like a rock song. Cause I never got my socks rocked in the second set. Like it was just like, okay. So Wilson was fun to start with.
Little gong action from Fishman.
Which was interesting. Yeah.
And I think we got triangle too. I think we got gong and triangle in this encore.
And I will actually bring up tonight, Tim's not here to talk about it, but no synth bed jams tonight. Like nothing hit the synth bed. And I wonder if that had something to do with some of the jams tonight. Like there was none of that, because that usually sets the table for where the jam's going to elevate to what we're going to do. Right. And none of that tonight. So that was interesting.
So maybe Paige is the man behind the curtain.
Maybe tonight he was like, no more. Nope. This is going to be a straight through show.
We're not doing that. All right. So Wilson, I mean, hey, Wilson, cool. Sanity. It's been a hot minute since they did. I don't have an exact stat on it, but I feel like it's been at least a year since it's popped
a while.
Up somewhere.
Yeah. And it's last. Oh, you know what? It says last played on 8/6/21, 103 shows ago.
Okay.
There you go. According to .net. So it has been a minute, which is cool. It's one of those fun songs that you don't, again, get very often. And it was cool to get there. And, you're setting up, you knew you're getting another one, right? Like 2 short songs are setting up for something. I thought the Bowie would be about a 17-minute Bowie to close us out, and really kind of, as soon as it started, I was like, okay, cool. This is going to be our last song. We're going to nail this one. Because the last one they played, we were just talking about this in the green room. The last one they played was Star Lake, and it was good. It sounded good. This one, oy vey, no.
It fell apart. I'm not sure what happened, but Trey looked over at Paige right before the ending, and he stopped playing completely, and then Paige found his way. It was like they were on 3 different pages, 4 different pages even, and not in a good way.
I was going to say, usually you like it when it breaks down and hits a deconstruction zone and does this crazy thing and then comes back into like for the ending. Yeah. Tonight it was just, it never.
And the ending wasn't right because Trey started from cold.
Yeah, the whole thing was messy. Like the whole thing was just.
It was a mess of a Bowie. The one at Star Lake, I think, is the one you want to send people to for tour. I think that was the strongest one.
I agree completely. Yes, Llama.
I say, in a way, this is kind of what we pay to see, though, when they take those chances, even when they don't work. I mean, it's just part of the risk, right? Because they can't be perfect 100% of the time. And I think it's interesting if you go back and listen to it to see how they try to recover, right? And if you think about it in like a recovery type way, it makes for an interesting listen.
So you're
Jason,
listening.
You should listen to the show, Jason. Listen to the show; it's worth listening to.
And listen for the recovery, after the fuck up in Bowie, because I don't even think they recovered it, to be honest with you. Like, there was no recovery. This thing was dead on arrival.
It was Miles Davis who said, or it's about the note you play next, right? When
I thought it was about the notes you don't play.
That's
I thought
a
it was
different
if
quote.
you play the wrong note, do it 3 times, and then everyone will think it's right.
That's like when you make 3 wrong turns. He's gonna make a right.
Yes, plays one.
Yeah.
And so you would invoke character 0, character 0, and
I want to go on record
happen.
real quick and say I thought this was a fantastic show.
There you go. There's that 3.0, 4.0,
you
know, view. That's why I said welcome to the Jaded Vets after show. Right? No, it is not.
No. I thought it was good. I thought it had varying jams. I didn't think they were all the same, like you thought. But I want to hear why you thought this character 0 was the rocker.
I wouldn't say it was a rocker, but it was a necessary ending. Like, it's what we needed to go out on. It's what we needed to feel like. Because again, the Kill Devil Falls was supposed to be the rocker in the second set, and it never got there. So 0, for being 6 minutes for what it was, they didn't try and get a blissful jam in there or try to do anything to it. It just sort of was Trey being the guitar guy.
Was Trey trying to be like, all right, we blew Bowie. Let's do a character 0 and at least give him something to go out.
Exactly. At least leave him on a higher note that feels like we rocked this one. So it kind of just felt like, yes, like give me something. Give me that, like, I mean, because look, you're not going to be on every night, and that's fine. I understand that, and we don't expect them to. And you don't have to love every show, and we don't have to agree on every show, and that's fine. Everybody sees it differently, and everyone enjoys the show for different reasons. I get that. I'm just, we do this show and we spout our opinions, and, we're a little critical sometimes of things, and I don't necessarily always want to fluff when things aren't what I see as being great. So tonight was not one of those shows. First set, yes. Second set, no. And even the 0, it could have rocked a little bit harder. It just felt, I know you like to say it, Kev, felt safe. It kind of was in that zone of like not even really getting there with like the white lights and the explosion and like the boom. It kind of just, was there, and at least they were having fun with it. So
Eric, the vintage of this show is IDK, because Tim's the one who does that, and I don't even know how he figures it out. I think he adds like every year up, and then
it's usually on .net sometimes too. You can look up sort of where the vintage is. Let's see, debut years average 96, I think it says tonight. Debuts by year, so yeah, about an average of 96 tonight.
96. All right, I can see that because the sneak and the twist. You got Yem from way back,
and the first set had a lot of those too. So I mean, it was a good vintage. This is kind of where we've been landing, as Tim was saying, in these mid late 90s for some of these. So it had all that. It definitely didn't play like a 96 show, right? Like we definitely didn't have the jams or the rock like we would have had in 96. So
right. Thank you, Robert, for that.
Oh yeah, thanks, Robert.
Hopefully we try to do very good all the time. All right, tomorrow night, make sure that you check back in. T will be here with Tim,
with
if everything goes
more bad
right.
opinions. So please tune in for more bad takes and more bad opinions of the show. No, hopefully tomorrow night I'll love it. I usually do love them.
And then Thursday, we got that Taper's Choice thing. Make sure that you tune in tomorrow, because maybe Llama will give some more info on what's going on. And then this weekend, we'll be doing the after shows again. And next week, we're back on our live things. So, Maestro, are you going to take us out?
Thanks for watching, everybody. Everybody have a